we're not the same people who we were 10 years ago. I don't think anyone's the same person they were 10 years ago. So I feel like if we're not allowed to showcase that in our own art, then what's the point of any of this?
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at GhostCultMag.com, and I am here with Sammy from Lost Society. So glad to see you here today. I have my nerd glasses on. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing all right, thank you. I got my sunglasses on. Sorry about that. It's evening in Finland, so I think it's better for everyone who's watching this and for you right now that I have these on. You don't want to
Right
see
on.
what's happening behind these glasses.
Right on, right on. I get it. Oh, yeah, if I were you, I'd be celebrating because your brand new album, If the Sky Came Down, is out now on Nuclear Blast. Congratulations on this new record. It is a bunch of bangers and a lot of fun stuff. And I know that it's very cliche. A lot of bands say, oh, this is my best record. That's what you're supposed to say, the routine stuff. But this really is, I think, like the culmination of everything this band has been like working toward for the whole career.
Dude, thank you so much. Honestly, it does feel unbelievable having the record out, and the fact that I feel like so many people, all of our, loyal older fans, but also so many of the newer fans, they've kind of got exactly what we wanted to get through with this record. That really means a lot to us all because it's a super personal record to me, to me obviously, and we all love it. We're all so proud of it. So it always feels very good because in the end of the day, obviously we write music because it's our outlet. It's something that we have to love. But if someone else also loves it as much as we do, then that's just the coolest thing on earth. So we're very happy right now. I gotta say that.
And it is a challenge for, you want to be who you are and like, oh, we built this city on rock and roll and partying and fun and having fun records and having a fun sort of connection with the fans. But then you like, oh, I'm a different artist now than I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I'm a different person. So songs like What I've Done and Awake and Stitches and Underneath do strike very like, oh, this is a different band. This is a different guy than, a different guy than a long time ago. So it's very refreshing.
Well, thank you so much. And honestly, like back to what you said actually in the beginning, I feel like what you were saying about it being a cliche that a band's newest record is always the best record, but it's actually something that we discussed a lot and extensively with our producer and co-writer Jonas, because we both feel like, when there's bands out there that have been going on for 20 years, 30 years, who have those really legendary records that they wrote back in the 80s or 90s, and they're kind of still riding off that, and it feels like there's a lot of bands that they literally just write a record so they can hit the road. It's like they're not going to play any of those songs that they have on the new record, and it's like they're not trying anymore. But to me that seems so weird because obviously Lost Society hasn't had a massive hit record yet, but I don't want to believe that I'll ever be in a place in my career where I know that I've written my best record. It's like you have to be, because your band is only as good as its last record, in my opinion. That's my opinion. But for us, I feel like we're always going to be challenging ourselves, and that means that the sound will definitely change. The moods will definitely change because I don't think, we're not the same people who we were 10 years ago. I don't think anyone's the same person they were 10 years ago. So I feel like if we're not allowed to showcase that in our own art, then what's the point of any of this?
And I think also your fans have also, I think fans also play a role, whether subconsciously or not, that they're willing to come with you on this journey, whether it's like, oh, we tried to step our game up and make a better sounding record or a better written record, but the fans will sometimes let like some fans, sometimes they get weird and it's like, well, I don't want to piss them off, but I have to come first. I want to please me first. I want to make a record that satisfies me.
Exactly.
The label has a say, hey, this isn't very good. Where's the hit? We don't hear any, what are we doing here? I don't
Well,
think.
I have to take that because I've talked to so many people, and you're luckily the first one who suggests that. But actually, like in our situation with Lost Society, I have to actually put this out there on the record that there has not been a single time in the 10 or 12 years that we've been working as a band, and for the, let's say, 6 or 8 years that we've been together with Nuclear Blast, we've never gotten a single comment from them that is kind of music related. Everything else, yeah, but nothing related to music, which I love. I love that. Could be that some people are not in as good of a situation as we do, but they've always been like, you know what? You artists do whatever the fuck you want. And as long as you're happy and as long as you deliver a record, we're happy.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me actually. Nuclear Blast is terrific. They've been around forever, and they do seem to take care of their artists. Everybody, I've never heard a cross word about, hey, we heard the demos and we don't like them, or
Yeah.
here's some notes. Never heard that ever once. So yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, like, of course you, in the back of your mind, you certainly want them to be happy with the record. I'm sure somebody has turned in a record that some label out there wasn't happy with, whether it's yours or someone else. Just hasn't happened to you, luckily.
Oh, I'm sure. And
And
I bet there's a lot
can
of, I
happen.
think there's a lot of records out there that the label should have said something against.
True, and hey, listen, we talk about that all the time here. We have a couple of podcasts. These interviews sometimes end up as podcasts. I'm on a different podcast where I talk a lot about records and vinyl and some beer and stuff, and we talk a lot about, like, veteran bands. It's certain kind of bands. Younger bands don't edit anything because everything feels really great and fresh to them. When you're young, everything is brand new. When you're into your career a while and the music industry is very harsh, you're hopefully a little more critical about what you put out. It's got your name on it. It's forever, usually, unless you're some kind of weird progressive metal band and you keep jamming and improvising live, or jazz musicians. But rock and heavy metal, we make a record, it's usually like, this is what it is. Maybe we'll jam a little more on stage, or let's extend the solo or something. But usually this is what it is. If a record's a finished product, and you have to live with it, you have to be happy with it, number one.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I feel like it's one of those things that I was grateful for the fact that I learned this at a pretty early age, but I feel like a lot of musicians also, it's a difficult thing for some people to accept the fact that even though, they're great songwriters and they're growing all the time, but the fact that they might not know everything. And it's like, I'm 100% willing to accept the fact that I don't know how to write a certain kind of song. It's like, I'm like, I need help on this, and I'm happy to get that help from, other band members, or a producer or co-writer or whatever. And I feel like that's definitely something that some people just don't want to face, the fact that, oh, okay, maybe I'm not the best at this yet. And because it's always kind of, I love the flip side of it, that you learn so much when you let someone in. It's like, you're not just, letting the world know that, oh, you're not the best at doing this. It's like you're willing to accept the fact that you're able to learn a lot of new things from someone else. And I love that, because, if we're not willing to learn to better our craft, then also there's no point in doing this, in my opinion.
Right on. I love hearing that. And not everybody says that, by the way. Very rare to hear that refreshing honesty. And, of course, the band has always been very heavy and emphasize these great riffs and parts, but I love how catchy these choruses are. They're more than ever. There's so much great singing on here. There's so many very just great melodic hooks that just make the heavy parts even heavier. And I think that's not lost as an art, but just kind of not everybody can pull it off.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that.
Word. So what I thought would be fun to do is to do a little track by track breakdown of the record. It's out a little bit. You've lived with it a little bit now, and probably perform some of these things live and have the videos. So I thought maybe if we run down the track listing, you can give whatever feedback you want to on the song, how you wrote it, anything it's about, whatever you want to share. It doesn't have to be super long, but whatever you want. And after that, we'll come to a summary and wrap it up.
That's awesome, man.
I have my notes here on the other screen. Again, that's why I need my glasses, because I can't see shit. Getting too old, too many nights raging, and his glasses are helping, unfortunately. I used to say don't get old, but if you stop getting old, you're dead. So forget it. Keep getting old. So if The Sky Came Down kicks off with 112 or 112, I'm not sure which is the actual, which you were going for, but 112, I'll say.
112 is, that's the way I've always referred to it. And actually, I think a perfect way of kind of starting this conversation is the fact that 112 actually refers to the fact that it's one of the, I believe it's one of the three main emergency numbers internationally. Obviously, we're in Finland. It's the national number for Finland and a bunch of other European countries. So that's kind of how that happened. And this was actually the chorus of this track was the first chorus I wrote for the whole record. I had the melody and the lyrics down probably like 2 years ago, and it was something that I all the time, me and our producer Jonas, we knew that this is going to be the first single of the record. It's like literally before we had anything else, I was like, this is the first song people will hear of the new record. And lyrically and otherwise, this song kind of built the whole basis of what this whole record is all about. I've referred to it many times as kind of like a forward on a book, because I feel like the lyrics, they're so kind of self-aware. There's the aspect of kind of finally coming into terms with the fact that you're not okay, and you're finally able to accept that and tell the whole world about it. So to me, there was really no other alternative than having this as the opening track of the record. And we were super excited with the reception we got of it. And I feel like, as hard as it is to kind of pick a track on a record that for a first single, because obviously it's supposed to tell people what the record is kind of going to sound like, kind of what it's going to be about. I think this is the closest that we were able to kind of pick one track, and I think it worked out very beautifully.
Nice. What Have I Done is the second track on the album.
What Have I Done is, it's like, I'd say it's kind of like the eeriest or the spookiest song that we've ever written, because I feel like the whole melody, the guitar harmony thing that's almost throughout the whole song, there's something super intriguing about it. And it's almost like it's holding the listener, by the neck. It's like, you know what, this something weird's gonna happen soon. And I think that's really cool. There's something really interesting about the mood of the song. And what makes it really interesting also is the fact that I remember clearly the night that I wrote the guitar lead and the kind of rhythm thing with the drum beat. There was like one of the worst thunderstorms in history in the city that I live in, called Jyväskylä in central Finland. And I literally just opened my windows. I was looking out, seeing these flashes of lightning everywhere. And I was like, you know what? I want to write something cool. And I just wrote that kind of loop that was going and going and going on. And, then about 6 months later, when we were putting together songs for this record, I pulled that out, and me and Jonas just started vibing on it super much. And, I had the vocal melody. He was really excited about that. And I believe the chorus was taken from another demo that we had of some other song that, the verses were just not good, but the chorus was gold. So we were like, yeah, okay, we're going to take that. We're going to build a fucking great track. So that's how it came about.
Sick. I love the enthusiasm, and I love the collab right from the start, that you have that trust with your producer. It's so rare.
100%. Honestly, I cannot stress the fact enough how massive of a part Jonas really played on this record, because obviously musically and the whole producing aspect, the recording, the mixing aspect, yes, but also the fact that because this record is obviously such a personal thing for me, and it's me kind of opening up to things that I didn't, talk about with my family or my friends. And he was literally there, holding my hand throughout the whole experience. So his involvement was massive on this record.
Nice. The third track is We Are the Brain Dead.
Yes. This one is one of my favorites. And this one is such a beast playing it live, because obviously you have the electronic elements, you have the kind of Prodigy-esque kind of feeling in the beginning, which I love. I made a demo with a bunch of samples when we were putting this record together, and it's based off of the demo I made, the whole thing that you can hear on the record. And it's just a mean fucking very simple riff, but a mean riff it's something that our other guitarist Arto wrote years and years ago. He had the melody that kind of was built into this riff. And I mean, this was one of those songs that it was a matter of a few hours that we were sitting down, we wrote the whole thing, and we were like, yeah, this is gold. And I love the fact that it's kind of like a nod to, our past with the whole brain dead thing, because obviously it's been a theme that's been very active since the first record. And, I feel like we need that kind of camaraderie more than ever in 2022, to just let people know that, you know what, you don't need to think about anything. You fucking be proud to be brain dead and think with your heart, and that's it.
Dig it. Words to live by. Stitches is the next track.
Yes, Stitches was it was one of the last tracks that we put together for this record. I had that melody that you hear in the beginning, with the kind of artificial harmonics on guitar. And this was also something that riff came about a long time ago, and it was just it was there in our hindsight, and or in our minds, in our subconscious. And then just like a couple of weeks before we went to the studio, I remember Jonas called me, and we had 8 songs for the record, and he was like, please write one more hit. And I was like, okay, I'll try my best. then I wrote this kind of piano thing that was very different from what you hear on the record. And, it had the melody of the chorus of the song. And once again, a couple of days, producer came here, we wrote the whole song, and it became one of my favorites. And this is probably my favorite live track of all time that we have.
Killer, killer. Awake is the next one.
Easily just the biggest song that we've ever written, the most massive song we've written. It was so funny because literally it was a session that all of us were together in our rehearsal place here, and we kind of reached the end of the day. We were like, okay, we're not writing anything today, or it was one of those slow days. And me and our producer, who's also a guitarist, we both had guitars in our hands, and we had this demo of a song way back that had the chorus of Awake. We wanted to build something worthy of that chorus because we felt it was such a strong chorus. So we just started playing just different rhythms, and we were like, hey, how about this? We had that, and I shit you not, no lie, we did the fucking thing at the same time, and we just accidentally harmonized on it. We were like, that is fucking gold. So we started building the whole song from that. And I'll always remember the fact that, for the whole bridge of the song, I was like, I need violins and cellos and whatever the fuck on this. And Jonas, the producer, was like, are you sure? I was like, yes. Then he's like, okay, let me see what I can do. Then literally it was like 10 minutes. He was, just on his computer. And after 10 minutes, he wrote all of those fucking violin lines that you can hear on the song. It was ridiculous. He made them on just some plugin. And then obviously the actual thing was recorded by the Budapest Art Orchestra, which was just mind blowing. So it was just one of those things that it felt like it's meant to be, because it was so easy to do at the end of the day.
Right on. That's amazing. Underneath is the next track.
Underneath is something really cool that our other guitarist Arto actually wrote. He made a killer demo of this, and we just knew instantly, yeah, that's gonna be a banger. And we sat down, all of us, and we wrote the structure of the song, and then we went absolutely nuts with the whole bridge kind of solo section, where we brought in almost kind of like, I feel like Racer X kind of guitar shredding leads, which was really cool, and something that I feel like not a lot of bands that play our style of music could do or pull off. And, because like our mentality with making the whole record has always been, if you want to do something crazy, go all the way. It's like no half measures, just go all the way. And I feel like that was definitely one of them. And yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. And the chorus it kind of has this almost kind of grungy aspect to it, which I feel is really intriguing also.
I get that too. Creature is the next track.
Creature, then we dive really deep into the whole grungy aspect also. And this one is something that actually, I believe I wrote the demo kind of at the time where everything just started going to shit in my life. And it kind of, it built the basis similar to 112, but lyrically more than anything, it kind of built the whole basis of what this record is going to be about. I really love the lyrics because they're super simplistic, but they're just like, it's fucking hard to read them because it's like, okay, that now we're really heading somewhere not nice. And I mean, it's a very accurate resemblance of what was happening at the time. And it's just, the song is about depression 100%. And it's something that I feel like it's one of the most kind of simplistic songs we have. It's just a couple of really powerful riffs, but it relies very heavily on just the tightness of the instrument and the fragility of the vocals.
Well said. And speaking of not nice and very gnarly, my favorite track on the record, Hurt Me, is next.
Hell yeah, man. That's great to hear. I love Hurt Me. It's one of my favorites also, if not my favorite, because I remember that this was also a few weeks before we had our final pre-production sessions. I was in Helsinki writing songs with Jonas, and he had a day that he had to go do something else, and he left me alone at the studio. And I was just a human wreck at that point. And I had an acoustic guitar, and I just started, I started jamming on this thing that almost had like an 8 Mile-esque kind of feel to it. And I was like, I just started singing the chorus, and I was like, yeah, we're onto something. And that day we wrote the whole song together with Jonas. We had the first demo, and I'll forever remember when I showed it to the other guys, when we presented it to them, I remember our guitarist Otto just looked at me after he heard the whole thing with the lyrics and the vocals and everything. He was just like, "Sammy, are you all right?" I was like, "Nah, dude, I'm not." And yeah, that we just, Jonas just absolutely nailed it with all the programming elements and the electronic elements on that. The samples are fucking beautiful, and it's just as kind of dirty as I always dreamt of.
I appreciate that, and thanks for sharing. I know some of this, cannot be easy, and I appreciate that you feel. I'm glad you have the space to talk about it with your friends, your bandmates, your audience, us. I appreciate you for that. It's hard. It's been a very weird and tough time in the world, and things that normally we would just be like, nah, it's nothing, are killing people. So it's just really hard, and
Exactly.
I hope you're gonna.
Exactly. I feel like honestly, like throughout this whole kind of record cycle thus far, and obviously in the future, I've said to everyone, and I feel like it's not only kind of my privilege, but I feel like it's something that I have to do with having, having the following that I do. It's not like we're the biggest band in the world or that I have millions of followers, but I have a following. And I feel like every single person who openly talks about mental health issues and how it is fucking totally okay and it's totally okay to seek help, I feel like every person who openly talks about that, it's one step towards making it more normal in the world. And I want to be a part of the positive change.
Perfectly said. I cannot add anything to that. If the Sky Came Down is the next to last track and the title track of the album.
Yes. It's honestly crazy because I feel like the moment we heard the song, the ready mixes of the song, I feel like we instantly knew that this is the title track. It sounds like the title track of the record because it really binds a lot of things together into one track. And you have the kind of simultaneously you have the kind of apocalyptic theme in the lyrics, but you also have the theme of what we're talking about throughout the whole record. It's like your own personal hell, but it's your own personal doomsday, but it's also a bigger subject talking about just how in ruins this whole world is at the moment. And musically, it's also, again, it's a lot of new cool elements. It's a big kind of sing along chorus almost, and it has these beautiful clean guitar things. It has an incredible solo by our other guitarist Otto, and it's the vocals are something I'm super proud of because again, you get into the whole kind of grungy, almost kind of Lane Staley kind of vocal thing, which was really cool and really challenging, but it was totally worth it.
I hear that totally. I am a huge AIC freak, and I love Lane,
Hell
and
yeah.
I love William and Jerry also too. And
Oh,
yeah,
100%.
I get that. I heard all that in the album too. And then the final track is we made it to the final track. It's Suffocating.
Yes, sir. Well, yeah, I mean, this is my favorite track of the record, and it's in my eyes, it's the best song I've ever written. And this song, the basis of this was that this was my final song. This was the last song I was ever gonna write. It's more being more stripped than you've ever been in your life. Just, there's nothing that you can hide behind. And I feel like that's really cool, kind of because it's like the symbolic sense of it and the musical sense, because it's like you can always have a bunch of distortion, you can have your double bass pedals and stuff like that, but when you're a metal band and you literally strip yourself off from everything except the vocals and a piano, there's nowhere you can hide anymore. And I feel like that's as I said in the beginning, 112 was the only song I wanted to be the opener. This was the only song I said this will be the last track. There's no discussion about it. And I feel like it wraps things up pretty perfectly. But despite the fact that the basis of the song was so traumatic and negative, I feel like on the contrary, when people hear it, I hope they also get that glimpse of hope that you get in the end of this record, because it like the whole record, I've said to everyone that even though it's really dark and grim, what I want to get through to people is the fact that I'm living proof that you can get out of all of that, because this record was supposed to come out and I wasn't going to be here to see it, but I'm still here and I'm still posting about it and talking about it with you. So I feel like I want people to get only that positive view of this whole record.
Killer, I'm glad you're still here, and thank you for making this record and sharing it with everybody, and continue to go out and kick ass and play it for everybody. One thing I do want to talk about, since we talked so much about the record and some of the tracks, I know there's like a battle on right now between the boomers and the oldsters and the young bands, right, about tracks, and like
Oh, fuck yes. Let's
every
go.
band, yeah, let's just talk mixed chop chop it up for a second about this because I figured you're a good person to talk to about this. You wrote this very complex, interesting record with some backing tracks. There's no way you're going to bring the Budapest Orchestra out with you to play one string section. Still, fans listen to records, they stream songs, they buy records, they buy the vinyl, hopefully, and they want to hear those things. And to you, it's not a complete song unless you can present it the way you heard it in your head, the way you wrote it and produced it. I think backing tracks are cool. I'm an older guy, but I think every band actually uses backing tracks to some degree. I think if you're unlike you guys, I think if you're unable to actually play and you're relying on the tracks to do the playing for you, that's not cool. But I think like this, like tracks are bad and the whole Ronnie Radke thing with the laptops. I mean, have backups of your stuff, everybody. Like that's a no-brainer. But like that's a goof. You shouldn't have to cancel because you don't have a backup. But that's not good. But like in general, like why are people so hung up on this? And like I'm sure you're going to bring some, if you're going to play some of these songs live, and you probably already have, you have to have some tracks, and it's not a terrible thing to me. But what's your feelings?
I feel 100% the same as you. And what I want to say kind of to begin with is the fact that the whole conversation, I've been obviously, I've been reading the things, I've been reading the news and watching the videos and everything. And I feel like I just don't want to bring in people. Like I feel like that's the most useless point of this whole argument, that you're bringing in people and putting people down and blah, blah. It's like, do whatever the fuck you want. Leave other people out of it. That's my opinion. But to me, tracks have never been an issue but I understand that there's so many people who just want to fucking hate you for something. And I feel like there's a lot of people who just literally think that when you're talking about backing tracks, during shows, that it means that all of your vocals are coming, all of your guitars, all your drums, all your bass. But people don't realize that a lot of these bands that we're talking about in this whole discussion, they've put in the hours. They have the best musicians in the world in their band. And obviously, your band has to be fucking tight. It's not about that. It has nothing to do with that. It's like, if your band isn't tight, then you're fucked anyway. Backing tracks aren't going to help you if your drummer can't stay in time. It's like, if you have a shitty drummer, it's not going to be any better if he has backing tracks or a metronome. He's a shitty drummer just anyway. But, to me, backing tracks is just like, I want to give the best performance of the song that's possible. And I don't give a fuck if a piano comes on track or an orchestra comes on track. It's like, I still play fucking tight because I've been practicing for almost 20 years. We played together for 12 years. It's like, it's not about the band anymore. It's just about bringing some cool extra things. And I think that's fucking okay. Like, I have literally no idea why someone would have something against that. That's just my opinion.
And it just goes to show you that even the so-called experts, and I'm a journalist, but the so-called experts don't know everything. And I used to play in bands to varying degrees, and yeah, I think just some people don't understand. And also, like, there is no difference between having a backing track with a laptop than having an offstage singer or guitar player covering parts that you can't actually play with the band you have, whatever that band is.
Exactly.
The same is no difference.
And we literally just talked about this last week with our drummer Taz, that I feel like probably the limit is the fact that, like for some bands, the limit, I understand when there's bands that literally have like, when you have kind of hip hop beats and stuff like that instead of drums, obviously then if you don't have them, then you can't play a show. But for us, the main idea is also that if all of our devices that we run these tracks from, if they were to break down on tour or during a show, we can still play the set till the end. I think that's the limit for us. It's like, if you can still do it, then that's fucking fine. And like, if everything was to break down, we know our songs fully in and out, that we could just improvise everything. We could do the violins, we could do the cellos, we could do whatever the fuck, but we just choose to perform it as big as possible because we want to. Again, this goes back to the whole thing of why we write music, why we play music, because we love it. It has to please us. That's number one. And when we play live shows, we play them to people who want to see a good show and hear a good show, but we want to fucking play the show that we want to play. We want to do exactly how we feel is perfect. And that includes tracks in our situation.
Amazing. Thanks for that answer. And let's go out on a strong note. I always ask this question. Everybody, people are very sensitive or not about this, but I think they are. Why is Finland so? How many incredible metal bands have come from Finland? What is it about Finland that it makes it like one of the capital places for metal and heavy metal and rock? It is just such an incredible amount of bands from such a small country.
I think it's two things. It's the logical reason, and then it's kind of the mental thing. We'll start from the mental thing. It's the darkness, the cold, and the fact that it's such a small and it's a small country with so little to do in a way. So that kind of drives people to the darker mindset. But then there's the logical reason in which this is one of the one of the best countries in the world with education. For example, you have music lessons since you're a kid, and it's so easy to get an instrument, it's so easy to get a rehearsal place, so easy to start playing shows. So that it's a combination between these, plus the easy access of getting music. It's like there's always been record stores here, before I was born. And it's just like it kind of snowballed from there on. It's like music always reached Finland, and people are depressed and fucking pissed off, so they have a lot to say.
And there you have it, right from the words of a son of Finland, right there, Sammy. Congratulations on this record, man. Thanks so much for hanging out with Ghost Cult. I really appreciated chopping it up with you. This was really fun, and I really appreciate the insights. If The Sky Came Down is out now on Nuclear Blast, we're going to link everything in the description. Thanks so much for hanging out and spending some time with Ghost Cult, man. I really appreciate it.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed this. And I hope to see you someday, hopefully soon, hopefully next year, man.
Yeah, man. I'll get over there, or you'll come over here, or both. We'll fight. We'll figure it out.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely, man. Cheers.
Thanks
All the
again.
best, man.